Ladies, gentlemen, let the show begin. Alright, do you like video games? And I know you do. What about entertainment? We got that too. Video game, I'm on a video game. Video game, oh, what's the name? Video game Armada. This is the This is the Omni Gamer. It's the Omni Gamer boss, Brew.
Wait, let me put my feeties up. Oh, wait.
I'm going to just include all of this in the recording so everybody knows what kind of tight shit we're running here.
Is it too close over there? No. I mean, is this too close right here? The table and this thing?
For you? No, it's fine.
My edge right here. Is that too close to the table if I go up anymore?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I was trying to figure out. Okay. Good.
Yeah. That's in the recording, too. This is the one on the Gamer Boss Bronze. And the information Emperor True Backlash.
And the First Lady of 2020 Media, Blue!
We're gonna post this before the new year. It's a present. A present of our wisdom.
All right.
Since we didn't get them anything for Christmas.
We did. They didn't get it?
No.
It's in the mail.
Well, why didn't you tell me? I would have signed the card.
All subscribers got a present.
That's true.
So if you're not a subscriber, that might explain it.
And punch the bell, too.
Yeah.
Punch that bell. Anywho, yes, this is a movie review, if you couldn't tell by the little marquee. And this is not just a movie review. This is the ultra definitive final review of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, because we wanted to give everybody else on the internet a chance to review it, analyze it, complain about it, analyze it some more, complain about it some more, write epithets to Disney and Lucas Industries about this movie, and send it in a way. Then us, as the true media kings and queens, put our name on the lot and put the line in the sand and tell everyone out there how it really is. Isn't that kind of us? Isn't that wonderful?
It's wonderful.
Isn't that lovely? It is quite lovely indeed.
Indeed.
Especially since this is a world-breaking movie where everyone doesn't have the slightest idea how to say if it's good or if it sucks. Is it like the best of the sequel trilogies? Is it the worst of the sequel trilogies? Is it this, that, and the other thing? Well, we'll tell you in this definitive, final review of The Rise of the Skywalker.
It's the final countdown.
My tambourine there. Yes, it's one of my many giftings. What can I say? Anywho, before we get with that, it's story time. And who better to talk that story than Backlash himself? Well, this is it. This is the last part of the current trilogy of Star Wars movies. And here, in this is the Star Wars movie, Emperor Palpatine is back. This isn't a gasp! I never saw that coming. Yes, this isn't much of a spoiler since they tell you in the title crawl. And they showed the Emperor's announcement in Fortnite. That is a real thing. That's not a joke. Yep, so it cannot be good for the rebels. No, for the resistance, rather. Or same thing. They don't even know what to call themselves anymore. And the millions of innocent... And the millions or thousands or whatever, how many planets are out there that were under the Empire's rule back then. So now the First Order has been beefed up by Palp's influence. And now the Resistance has to stop them by any means necessary, or the world of Star Wars is screwed. Don't you mean the galaxy of Star Wars? The galaxy of Star Wars is screwed, rather. So we got our intrepid group of heroes. Rey, the Jedi X-being trainee du jour. Poe, the Resistance fighter
who's an X-Wing pilot and all-around Han Solo XB. Finn, the former stormtrooper turned good. He may or may not know how to use the Force. It's kind of hinted in the movie. Who knows? He's used a lightsaber before, so maybe. I don't know. And then Rose Tico. No, not Rose Tico. She's in the movie, but her role has been scaled down a bit. And of course, BB-8, the mascot of this trilogy, R2-D2, who is also staying put on the Resistance home base, C-3PO, and Chewbacca, rounding out the crew. They have to save the day by any means necessary.
Well, excuse me. Well, thank you for that synopsis. So, lady, gentlemen, and me, what did you think of the movie? Well, we always talk about the goods and the bads, but we'll start with the general thoughts and feelings, then we'll move on to the goods and the bads. So, who wants to start? Smile.
I'll do it. So, I like the movie. It's not perfect. Not by any stretch of the imaginations, but honestly I haven't found a Star Wars movie I've hated yet. This is not any exception. There's a lot going on in the movie, to be honest, but there's a lot of action, a lot of things to do, a lot of worlds to explore. It was like, okay, we don't have enough timeline. Here's a lot of worlds we haven't been to yet. So there's this. I was like, ooh, brought back a couple characters from the old trilogy. I can't say too much about that because of super obvious spoilers. I will say Lando is in there because, again, that was advertised. So it's good seeing Billy D. Williams reprise his role as Lando Calrissian. That's pretty good. Let's see. Rey going through her struggles to be the hero against the First Order. She still has to deal with that. And then even her complicated relationship with Kylo Ren, of all people. So that's featured. I thought that was a nice little wrinkle. They introduced some more characters, try to flesh out a couple things that were mentioned or seen in the last couple Star Wars movies. And, the main threat, which may or may not be Palps, not trying to spoil it for those who didn't watch the movie yet, it's not a Death Star. They got actually something different this time. So,
I think the majority of the internet would disagree with you on that, but continue.
But I thought, the way it closed out a chapter, I thought it was a fun ride. I think it ended well. Again, it's not perfect. But, I didn't expect The Last Jedi to be as polarizing as it was. I still like that movie too. Mm-hmm. And The Force Awakens, let's call a spade a spade. It was A New Hope.
Yep. That is, in that movie, I end up, I think, giving it a mediocre, and if I didn't, I should have, because at the end of the day, it was just The New Hope again.
Yeah, so Rey...
They played it super safe, and it was downright boring.
Let's see, Rey was Luke XB, Poe was the Solo XB with a mix of Wedge Antilles thrown in. The only new character really was Finn, but even then he was a stormtrooper, so that wasn't... So his concept is nothing new. So... But, for the way to end this, the way that ended this chapter, I wholeheartedly say I was entertained.
Okay. Blue?
I also liked the movie. I thought it was pretty good. I enjoyed the fact that this was the final rendition. I've seen a lot of transitions of this particular sequels, and they all seem to have a different spin for the primary characters. But I think overall, I think this one I probably liked the best of the three. I do have to say, and this we might save this for another part of our review, but I certainly would have had a different ending. I wouldn't have changed it drastically, but I certainly would have had a different ending. And if you guys hang around to the end, I'll tell you how it should have ended.
Since this review is the definitive final review, there's no need for spoiler tags here. Anyone who cared about the movie has seen it and add their little 2 cents to it. So we'll just go all out.
Well, that certainly sounds like a plan. Then I should proceed with how it should have ended.
Is it like, how would you perceive it? Like good, like how, like a bads? You can save it for the bads if you like. Since you didn't like the ending.
I could do that.
Yeah,
Sure.
this is just our general thoughts on the matter before we get into it for the most part. But is that all you had?
Other general thoughts I had is I did like the idea that even though some of the actors were not present for for obvious reasons, including a death, I think that they handled it very well. That part of it, they didn't try to find ways that they could fill in other people in the role. They didn't try to find a reason why this person no longer was in the plot, like they had an accident while trying to fly somewhere. I mean, we actually did have 2 deaths that I know of, maybe more of the actors themselves. Chewie passed away.
Peter Mayhew, yeah.
Along with Leia,
Carrie Fisher.
Carrie Fisher. So, I think that any movie would be hard pressed and very challenged for their final saga of something to pull together 2 very poignant characters, central characters to the plot, and find ways that they could make it work. And I think under those circumstances, they certainly did that. So those are honorable mention kind of.
Okay, my turn?
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
So a long time ago, in a space in undisclosed location of the United States of America, there was an announcement that's saying, "Hey, Star Wars is going to have prequels." Since Disney bought the rights to do Star Wars from George Lucas, and me at the time was pretty psyched because I do find myself to be a Star Wars fan. Perhaps not the biggest Star Wars fan or a Star Wars fan that knows everything about the lore 100%. But I'll tell you something for free, I do enjoy Star Wars. And I could not wait for any more Star Wars goodies like most people. But then I heard through the grapevine is that unlike the original, the George Lucas brand of sequels and the originals and the prequels that George Lucas did as the director through all 6 movies, the 3 movies that were going to be created were going to be done piecemeal, meaning one director is going to do one, another director is going to do one, and another director is going to do the last. 3 different directors for 3 different Star Wars movies. Now, Backlash brought it to my attention and said, "Oh, that's not such a big bad thing. I mean, Marvel movies have different directors. Star Trek had different directors. A bunch of series had different directors." And I said it to my brother. I like to think I'm a brother. I've known him for many years. Saying that all due respect to those properties ain't Star Wars. George Lucas had a dream, a vision of creating an action-adventure movie to bring to the masses that inspired good feelings and clear understanding of good and evil in acceptable and interesting ways. Sure, it's very similar to westerns and samurai movies, but who cares? It was in a galaxy far, far away, and all these things that were like, maybe considered passe now, were things we never saw before in cinema, films, or TV. The point is, Star Wars ain't the kind of thing you want to do by committee. You have to have a goal. You have to have a vision. You gotta know what you're doing.
Yes.
As George Lucas once had. You can say what you will about the prequels, and they have, but at the end of the day, two things are fact. One, the prequels are awesome, no matter what.
Yes.
May not be perfect, but what is? And two, the same guy did all three. So no matter how you feel about any individual of the prequel movies, or any individual of the original, all done by the same guy, so there's going to be tone and lore. That's beautiful.
Yes.
So, the first of them, the Force Unleashed, Force, goodness, that's a video game. Excuse me, people. The Force Awakens. I watched it. I deemed it just like Episode 4 because Disney, in all its infinite wisdom, said, there are some people on the internet that don't like the prequels. Let's not take any chances. Let's give them something very familiar that they already know, but have different characters. And that's what they did. I said, boring, mediocre, and it gets a mediocre. I didn't want to have to do it, but I knew it was coming because I knew that this was going to go this way. Because you aren't following a plan. You're following piecemeal tactics because three different directors are going to have three different ideas of what they consider Star Wars. And here comes Rian Johnson. Now I know people out there may not have the best opinions of the man, and I have nothing against him personally, but I wouldn't have selected him for Star Wars. He is his own guy, but he is not a guy for Star Wars. And it's clear in how everything he did things. Turning Luke into an old man that was disillusioned is not bad in itself, but it defeats his character as he was created. Plus him trying to murder his nephew because he might be evil. That's not cool because he kind of redeemed his father, the evilest man in the galaxy who destroyed everything, killed children, killed planets. He killed everybody, and he still wanted to save us. So Luke Skywalker is not that kind of guy.
Right.
But all the same, that's what he got with old hermit Luke Skywalker, and that's not good. And of course, poor Poe. People saying he got picked on by the old lady. I like to think that Poe sort of deserved it because he, he's reckless. He wasn't a leader. He was just some ace pilot. And for whatever reason, they made him like a leadership guy and, whatever. But that's a whole different topic. Finn, poor Finn, comic relief, and he ends up with a potato sack girl. So that's all I gotta say with that. And of course, everyone knows from here to there is that Miss Rey is just all powerful, and people don't like that because that's into is boring.
Let's see.
So The Last Jedi, we didn't do a review on that, surprisingly, but we should have. At the end of the day, I had to give it a fail. If I know it's a late review, but if I'm reviewing it, it had to be failed because of it is like a complete 180 to what was not only established in The Force Awakens, but Star Wars as a whole. And, it just trashes lore like crazy. So there you go. Now, what I'm going with this again, for The Rise of Skywalker, again, not that the movie is bad. Like Blue said, I have to say that I enjoyed this one most of all. But it's not exactly... It doesn't measure up, is what I'm saying. Rise of Skywalker is the best of the sequel trilogies, but is still falling short of even the worst of Star Wars that George Lucas ever made, which, if I had to say, is the Attack of the Clones? No, that's not even right. No. The Star Wars Christmas special. Star Wars Christmas special is better than The Rise of the Skywalkers. And that was the worst thing I ever saw of Star Wars up to the point. But again, none of this is a surprise to me. Because I knew where it was going. Because I knew this is where we'd all end up. Because of deciding instead of to hire a guy who knows Star Wars like George Lucas does, like on the back of his hand, to do the whole thing, tone-wise and all, They decided to do this. One, you. You do this, you do this, you do this. And even their initial plan didn't work out because whoever's in charge of Disney didn't like some of the directors and just fired them and let other people take over, and then didn't like what they were doing and fired them, and they end up making Into the Spider-Verse, which earned a butt ton of awards, so they're probably kicking themselves for that. At the end of the day, for the Rise of the Skywalkers, they didn't let J.J. Abrams do it and tried to fix the mess they created, but sadly, it was all for naught. So again, I know that was a whole bunch of maybe exposition no one wanted to hear, but that's how I truly feel about the whole matter. And we can delve into the goods now, and then the bads, and then we can get to the rating. Because I don't want to take up you guys' time. I'm sorry.
It's not taking up.
Maybe I ranted just a little bit. I didn't intend to do so.
No, it's fine because it gives you a chance to share views that I'm sure others of our subscribers and other viewers are feeling the same way. They made these observations, and maybe they've noticed some things, but couldn't quite put their finger on why.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that was very helpful.
Who wants to start with the goods?
I think I will. The goods are definitely the scenery. It looks so beautiful in every location they decided to go in this movie. I think, the scenery, there were some pacing issues. We'll get that to the bads. But every place they went to is kind of like, okay, neat. Some of them are repetitive from, you've seen one Tatooine, you've seen them all. But they really tried to go all out to show you there's more to Star Wars. And they've done a good job overall throughout the franchise of seeing all these unique planets. And what makes them set them apart from the ones from the original trilogy with George Lucas. I think I gotta give it to Ian McDiarmid, I think his name is.
The Emperor?
Yeah, returning against Palpatine.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what you think about the role of Palpatine, I personally liked it. That dude didn't miss a beat. He was always perfect as Emperor Palpatine from start to finish. I don't think he was the only guy who did Palpatine. Don't quote me on it. But when he took up that role, man, he was amazing.
True.
He is so good. And he doesn't even have that much screen time. Maybe that's a spoiler, I don't know. But for what screen time is, he owns it. Let's see. I think that... Alright, so here's a spoiler.
Go right ahead. Like I said, we are the very last Rise of Skywalker review on the internet right now. People already know.
So, I watched non-spoiler reviews of the movie before I watched the movie. So I could preface together things that would happen. And generally, I'm a master of the game. I've watched a lot of movies, and very rarely am I surprised. And I think a lot of it had to do with Carrie Fisher's death, and the producers and the writers needing to fill a hole that was left by her passing. I still was not expecting Han Solo to be in the movie.
I know.
That was amazing.
Yes,
That was pretty good.
That was like, yes.
Even though there are, again, a lot of fussy babies out there saying, what is he, a memory? That doesn't make any sense.
Who cares?
Is he delusional?
Who cares? That guy was under extreme duress. He was resurrected by force healing. And I guess we're going to talk about a little bit about that too. But who knows what force healing does? We just figured that out. Maybe his life was flashing before his eyes at worst. At least, But to have a guy who's clearly Harrison Ford, he's clearly not feeling Star Wars, like he used to it. Even Daddy was like, I did that role. It was.
I made those millions.
Yeah, that was so awesome. I also got to give it to Anthony Daniels as C-3PO. There's good parts of the movie where he's treated like the most utter butt monkey in that movie. But But part of it is because it's C-3PO. He can be annoying, and Anthony Daniels has a lots of step. He shows he's a good actor. His range. He goes from unknowingly annoying 3PO to fussy, humorous 3PO to sad, remorseful, reflective 3PO. And I thought for that bit of work he did, that was great.
I thought that they were picking on C-3PO.
I did too.
A little much in the film, but I remembered that they used to kind of treat him as a buck monkey in the original too.
Yes, they did.
Heck, Leia turned him off and a couple of times when he got too annoying.
But he had some really snappy comebacks in the earlier Star Wars. This one he kind of just was like
taking it.
Yeah.
I also like Chewbacca's suit actor. The emotion he showed when he showed he not knowing that 3PO could have been brought back. I don't think that his last friend, that isn't R2D2, is gone. It's like, man, that was the feels. That was a guy in a suit doing that. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And also props for giving him his medal. I didn't get the symbolism, but after looking at TV tropes, seeing what that was about, I was like, okay, I see what you did there. I also, Lupita Nyong'o as Maz, whatever. For her role, it wasn't a lot. I think she also was well. Like, there's a lot of good acting in that movie. And ultimately, I also, at the end of the battle, at the end of the final fight, I'll give a point for creativity. The Emperor Palpatine lit up the sky with force lightning. It freaked me out. I was like, ah! And then the horses, the alien horses.
Don't bring up the horses. People are already mad about the horses.
Oh.
In fact, they didn't like the ultimate power lightning either. They wanted everyone to be destroyed instead of just turn their ships off.
Yeah,
I think that's more like a diffusing process.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like all that energy's going somewhere. I mean, it would be you would have to be like double his strength to destroy those ships. I'm going to settle being fine with it just turning the ships off because it looked cool.
Yeah, and you know what? I personally like the very end. I'll end with that. I do like the very end. I like how Rey kind of closed the chapter. And on the original trilogy, both the original trilogy and her own trilogy. Not saying we won't see Rey again. Not saying we won't see the characters we met again. In fact, if you believe John M. Chu, the guy who directed Crazy Rich Asians, we might be seeing a Rose Tico television show on Disney Plus. Huh?
No one's going to watch that.
But ultimately, I thought it ended well.
Ultimately, I thought it ended well as well, but nonetheless, I still felt that, I would have liked to have seen it ended differently. It's almost like I'm that girl that saw Game of Thrones ending. I'm that girl that saw Sopranos ending, and by George, I think they could have did a better job of the ending. It wasn't anything that was radically wrong about the ending.
Mm-hmm.
I just would have liked to see it a little different.
A lot of people, again, I've had a lot of time watching all the people's reviews and where they make sense, where they falter. A lot of people hated that ending because it felt like it was robbing everything Luke was, from the moisture forming to the bearing of his father's lightsaber and Leia's lightsaber apparently, to the name itself. And I have to admit, taking someone's last name when it's not yours is kind of weenie.
Especially when your last name is Palpatine.
Yep.
It's Palpatine. It's not Skywalker.
I mean, honestly, when you have a name like that, you'd think you want a fresh start.
Yeah, but you can have a fresh start being Palpatine. You can go around and say, you know what, I know Palpatine wasn't cool, and I'm his daughter, I'm going to do right, and all that. But being a false Skywalker, all the Skywalkers died. So, basically, that is a falsehood where Palpatine, the Emperor, actually won in this case because only his legacy's left and not the Skywalkers.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm going to bring that up at the very end, actually.
I gotta say this real quick. It's just like you are an expert at watching BoJack Horseman, aren't you, Bronze?
What?
Yeah.
I gave it whenever I watch something, even if I disagree with it, I like to at least give it a season to see if it can redeem itself. I stopped doing that because certain things can't be redeemed. The Politician on Netflix, for one thing, forget that. Not watching that. Lame. Although I'm really liking The Witcher. It's
yes.
a little cliche, a little heavy on the nudity, but otherwise it's enjoyable.
So, real quick, there's a show on BoJack Horseman. Basically, it stars off a washed-up actor had a Full House-like sitcom called Horsing Around. One of the actors was a young boy at the time. You want to know what his name was?
Skywalker.
No, his real name.
Palpatine.
Give up.
Bradley Hitler. Yeah, of course. And he's not related to Adolf Hitler, but of course they use that for laughs, for jokes, because anyone who knows the name Hitler, they know it's a name that in normal circumstances you want nothing to do with. You know, that's something that you want to get as far away from as possible, and you know, without trying to be insensitive to the subject matter, Palpatine in the universe of Star Wars, that name is infamous. It started out fine. He was a senator. But he worked his way up to enslaving people and putting a dictatorship throughout the galaxy. Maybe Rey didn't need to take Luke's name, but she definitely would have wanted to distance herself from that name if she ever wanted to have a normal life.
She's already a super powerful Jedi who saved the galaxy, like, what, twice or something? I don't think people are going to care that much. Plus, plus the people who know who she really is.
You ever watch Avatar The Last Airbender?
Yeah.
Remember when Zuko separated from his uncle?
Yeah.
He went to this small earthbending town.
Mm-hmm.
These people were being bullied. He tried to keep a low profile, wasn't trying to use his bending. He tried to fight him off with his martial arts, and he did good, but not good enough. But he had to use his fire bending. And at the end of the day, people were afraid of him. Even the child that he helped told him to go away because he was a member of the Fire Nation. Because no one could firebend unless you're a part of the Fire Nation. You know, it's just like, sometimes that doesn't matter to people. You know, just like, no matter how much good you do, if you come from this. And she didn't know. Of course she didn't know about her past. That's part of the whole series. But if you come from an infamous bloodline, people will tend to be less forgiving.
Well, let's just say this.
Yeah.
She chose the name Skywalker, and I guess this is her way of an homage.
Yeah.
Right? But the bottom line to that is, if she was very sensitive about her last name being Palpatine, hello, her grandfather was Darth Vader. I mean, the Skywalkers managed to get past the whole idea that their dad was like Vader. So I just can't see why she couldn't have, have it ended. But I'm not even hung up on the name as much as I was the idea that one of the really big contributing stars in the movie, who I grew very fond of, even as a villain, I still liked him. I thought he was pretty cool. And we all know who that is, right?
Yeah, it's Vader.
No, not Vader. Even though I'm switching
Boba
gears.
Fett.
No, I'm on this movie now.
Oh.
The last couple sequels. Help me out here. What was the bad guy's name? Kylo Ren.
Kylo Ren, right.
I really liked Kylo Ren.
He didn't carry the movie. I'm not. He's going to be my good, Kylo Ren. Even though he was kind of an edgelord and still is, I've always been a sucker for redemption stories. So when he threw away his lightsaber to embrace a not douchey side, I said, hey, good for you. He can make up for all the bad things he did. He can try to rebuild, like, the galaxy one person at a time. You can be going around like a monk or something. I don't know. But they had to kill him off. Boo! And I thought, he was going to save Rey. I missed that part personally. I thought he was going to save Rey. So I said, okay, they're going to get back. He's going to save Rey or something, and then they're going to go back to the friends or whatever. So I went to the bathroom, and then I came back, and when Backlash said he died, I said, how did he die?
I know. Not like the insane.
He gave her all his life force, and then she kissed him, and then the kiss was so poisonous he dropped dead and turned into a force ghost. Which, what?
He just we're gonna make it so that you could ever come back.
Yep.
Disappeared.
Yep.
Oh, come on. Nobody else disappeared. Even the people who died didn't disappear. They brought them back.
Which good, by the way, kudos for you, Blue. You were the first to bring it up when we talked. But a whole bunch of people noticed, Emperor Palpatine's audience. Who were they? Where did they come from? You brought it up first, so congratulations.
Yay.
I give you a hand.
First lady of media, and my ghostly Palpatine audience. Yay!
So when you asked me that, I said, I don't know.
I told him too, but
I didn't care, but that's true. It's important to know because Palpatine is the last of the Sith. It's not like he's got students or anything. So they have to explain where those people came from. Now that since they instantly died when the Emperor did it, I'm thinking, excuse me. I'm thinking that was just some sort of weird ghost or projection or something.
I'm thinking some of his ghost of Christmas plans.
Yep.
Just kind of showed up and hung out.
Which, by the way, how did you guys feel about how the Emperor died?
You know what? I know the argument against how he died, but I really don't care about that. I thought it was kind of neat how he just got vaporized, turned into dust.
I don't know. I mean, it seems a little lackluster because one, Emperor Palpatine got his face messed up that way. So again, I watched a lot of analyzation videos and reviews of Rise of Skywalker already, and I have to agree. When that was starting to be happening again, he should have turned his lightning off so he didn't fry himself.
Well, see, that's what a part of how it should have ended. How it should have ended was not Rey was going to just use one sword, and that was almost good enough, but not quite. So now she's going, I won't say sword, lightsaber. Then she's going to say, I know, I'll whip out a second lightsaber. It's going to do it. No, she should have been out there doing her thing, not quite enough. And then Kylo Ren was supposed to jump in, pull out a lightsaber that Rey happened just to have a second one of, and together they would have did him in.
I like that, but my take on that one is that she would be trying to battle back the lightning, which, by the way, she copied off Mace Windu anyway. But, she wouldn't be able to hold him off for long. Then here comes Kylo Ren. He does a force jump up in the air, and he pulls out Han Solo's little pistol and shoot him in the face. And then Rey would have did a force slash, and they would have taken them out together.
Well, that's what I liked. I would have liked to have seen that.
But nope, he dies.
And then he would have been able to live, and they would have waltzed off into the sunset together.
All right, that definitely.
Yes.
That definitely. There are things that this movie needed to improve.
Now, who was Kylo Ren's grandfather?
Darth Vader.
Okay, so wouldn't that have made him the last Skywalker?
Yep.
Yeah.
So instead of having him on how it should have ended, be the last Skywalker, teamed up with the Palpatine to be for good, we leave it with the last Palpatine.
That's pretty much it. Oh goodness. What else could I say that was good about the movie? I did like Alien Burning Man. That was interesting enough.
I liked a lot of the special effects. Needless to say, were very well done. They always are in Star Wars, but this movie no exception. They had some really backlash indicated. Some of the scenes were so beautiful. Like they had this one particular scene. I wasn't crazy about the scene itself, but the water was amazing. When Rey had gone to that island, or that planet I should say, and held up this little knife, and it could tell her exactly where the thing was that they needed, and all these waves that they had to go through in order to get to that place. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
That water was breathtaking.
Now the thing is, what some people brought up is that Rey comes from a desert planet. How does she know to swim?
The Force.
Yes, there we go.
The Force.
Sad as that is, the Force. It's not like she couldn't. In fact, when she was getting buried by the black sand, I was expecting her to force everyone else out like a force explosion, and they got shot out. But no, they just went in and didn't come out.
I think for the most part, there's a lot of questions if we start talking about the bads in the movie.
That's what
that
we're sort of
one. Okay, well that being certainly one for me. You're just going to happen to just take out a sword and just hold it up. You're going to know of all the whole planet.
You're not the
You're
only
going
one.
to show up at that exact spot. And I'm sorry, I'm not buying the Force on this. You're going to show up out of the whole planet exactly in the same pristine spot. It happens to be a daylight. I'm sure on planets, there are planets that probably have 6 months of darkness. You're going to show up in daylight, and you're going to be able to hold this knife exactly so it lines up with where you're to go.
Well, you're not the only one who brought that up. And I'll be honest with you, that was quite the cop-out. They could have used that in a smarter way. They could use the knife to have some sort of tracking thing that lights up when you get closer to where you're going, and just points in the right direction. Oh, there you go.
And then I gotta say, they went through all of that to find the trinket, and I'm really still not convinced what the heck the trinket even did. After you found it, there was some confusion about how to use it.
Mm-hmm.
Then you fought this fight where the trinket just kept falling into different people's hands. And then you still managed to do what you needed to do without the trinket. So, kind of why? Was that like a MacGuffin?
There's a lot of MacGuffins in this movie.
That was supposed to find Emperor Palpatine, I think.
Well, it was just a very weird sort of thing. It seems like they were using different sources to try to make this mystery trinket do something. And I don't know that they accomplished that. I think Palpatine sort of found them. Sort of.
But when it comes to the characters, let's talk about that for a second too, because a lot of their motivations. I mean, the one bounty hunter girl in that planet that helped Poe. First, they wanted to shoot her. Then she gets beat up. Now she's best friends with Poe. Maybe have a relationship. Then when they get to the planet with the horses, then you find a whole bunch of former troopers, just like Finn, say, "Hey, we're like you. We should get together and help you with your raid." And let's bring these horses. That's a thing.
And we never even saw the motorcycle girl. I mean, who in the heck was she? Was she around at some other part of the prequels?
Nope.
Was
She just showed up.
made up, and then at the end, it was gee, you didn't even take your helmet off. We don't even know what you even look like.
Nope.
And then the same thing could be said for the girl with Finn. They show up on this planet, and another said planet, and there's this little group of Rough Riders, and she's at the forefront, maybe she's the leader Rough Rider. She takes a liking to Finn, and somehow she starts to see him in a different way, possibly romantic interest, possibly decides to attach herself to Finn, when Finn clearly is running after Rey. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know what planet she's on, but that would not work here. She is saying, "Oh, I'll kill myself to help you save Rey." No, I'm not feeling that at all, and I don't think any other woman who saw that would do that.
Nope.
They don't even know Rey. I mean, I could see this happening if they were like friends with Rey, long-standing, like Finn, but they didn't even know Finn.
Well, they just crashed on the planet, and then they said, "Let's help you." Okay.
Yeah. We're gonna give up our lives, our very lives, for your mission. We believe you. No, that's just not right in any language on any planet. Sorry.
The lightsaber battles were a joke. I don't care who you are. One of the best things about the prequels is how Jedis fight. You know, they fight like practice purpose. Like, you know, in this fight, it was like, getting all wet. I can do that. I do it much better. No. When it comes to the lightsaber, you don't just wave around, you know, getting all wet and beat up and teleporting through dimensions. You fight with purpose and measured flexibility and practice precision. Like martial artists. Martial artists ain't sloppy. It's a skill. It's an art. What these two were doing was just like LARPing. You know what LARPing is, Blue?
I've heard the term.
Yeah. Think of people who like D&D but want to be like D&D in real life. Wear the costumes, go into the woods, pretend they're like wizards and knights and crap. And then they go at it. But they're not like professionals. They're just playing around. That's what Rey and Kylo were doing. You know, Kylo, again, he does make the movie enjoyable to a certain degree, but his swordsmanship sucks. And Rey's is no better. She just forces her way to victory.
But the sound effects were spot on.
That's not the hard part. I can do the sound effects. I just press the button. And let me say something about the humor in this. This humor is weird.
There was humor?
Yeah, and in Star Wars,
I missed that.
There's dry humor. You know, like very dry, pretty crisp, telling like jokes, like more like banter, witty banter. That's what Star Wars said. They have witty banter. They don't have jokes. In all three of these new prequel sequels, they have jokes that their jokes are like what Marvel has for jokes. But Marvel jokes are funny. The Star Wars jokes are not. There was one out of place scene where this one like portly rebel resistant pilot said, "All right, things are looking bad. This is what's going down. Sorry, General." And then Leia said, "Well, why do you say it like that?" And everyone's like, "Oh, come on." So what? It said, "If you're going to give me bad news, tell it to me in a positive way." And I said, "Positive way? What? Are you not a general, Leia? Are you really saying like tell me bad news in a good way? That's not how bad news works. You gotta be informed." Daggone it, this is not funny. And of course, in Last Jedi, Poe did a "you mama" joke. That was not funny. And what else did they do here? I don't know. There was some jokes that just did not work out well for me. And
we kind of hit the one with 3PO where he was, you know, the little guy that repaired him.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like, I forget how it was set up, but it was after his memory wipe, and then it's just like, I know, let's just call him John Doe. You just came from John Doe's place, and he's like, "Oh, John Doe's my oldest and most trusted friend." That was funny.
A little bit.
But again, I didn't notice any humor. I'm sorry.
I know that, and that's the problem. If you didn't notice any humor, that means what they tried to do as humor failed miserably.
Epic fail.
Epic fail. Oh, goodness. Does anyone else have anything to add for goods and or bads?
Let's see. The bads, I wouldn't really call them bad, but Oscar Isaacs, John Boyega, and Daisy Ridley, and let's throw in Domhnall Gleeson, Hoke Husk, heck, what's his name? The old Moff Tarkin XB, the one that was the spy, Huck. Their Hux.
Hux, yeah.
Their acting wasn't the best, and I think they all realized that this wasn't maybe the movie they thought it was, because Kelly Marie Tran and Daisy Ridley, I don't know how far it went, but they got rid of their social media for a little bit, and then John Boyega said some critical things about The Last Jedi. Oscar Isaac remained professional, but I'm thinking those guys, those young actors who thought, hey, we're going to be the face of Star Wars, and then realized later on that, maybe that wasn't the case. They're professional about it. They weren't slacking. They weren't going full Bruce Willis, and that's like, But you could tell their acting didn't match the acting of, say, like an Adam Driver, who, like you said, he was very good, or an Anthony Daniels. Again, even Billy D. Williams, he didn't last all that long. You could tell he was excited to be back. And I really can't tell unless you're such a terrible actor that you suck so bad. I really can't tell if you're trying at acting or not. That's not my forte. This, I felt they did very well, but it wasn't something where you really could feel it. I mean, but like Lupita Nyong'o, you can hear it. Anthony Daniels, even Harrison Ford, for a little bit of time he was on screen. Even, he probably was Dilgaff mode too, but he's such an actor that, you could tell he was doing well with it. Mark Hamill didn't feel, I don't think he felt really, he was just delivering his lines very straight, he's had problems with The Last Jedi. So some of the acting was just okay. It's maybe not fair to ask him to go above and beyond like they're doing King Lear. This is Star Wars. But that's how I feel about that. Yeah, I didn't like the way they treated 3PO, especially Poe being such a jerk to him. And you're right. They treated him badly in the first set of movies too, which I could go on a random video and tell you that while I respect the original trilogy for being the iconic masterpieces that they are, they were not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I will be the first one to tell you, until they got to the Mos Eisley Cantina, that movie was boring. Boring! And then everyone and their grandma, from Cinema Sids to Honest Trailers to Nostalgia Critic to Screen Rant pitch meetings, will tell you the early lightsaber fights. You think the lightsaber fights were, and I wouldn't call those fights bad, they were the product of their time, but at least there was some choreography in this one. And they weren't, maybe not the best story forward fight. It was just these two Master Jedis. It's like,
To be fair, the first film didn't have much of a lightsaber fight.
No, but I mean, it's just like, but back to my point. It's just like, I think that the darn it, what was my point? But I mean, I thought some of the acting was okay. I thought it's not a perfect movie. I will admit that, but it's just like, I don't think I was actively disappointed in really anything that I watched with it. Trying to think of some bads here. Some people brought up the economical cost of Palpatine's plan.
economical cost. Oh, that's hilarious.
Really, they just like you saw all those ships at Exegol. That's it. People are saying, "How is he affording all this?" It's like, and I'm thinking of myself listening to these guys, like, "Why do you care now?"
He robs from the rich and gives to the poor. He robs from the living and kills them.
Yes.
Plus, he's been doing it for like who knows how long.
That's right.
He was a senator after all.
Yeah, exactly. And since the time he died, from the last Return of the Jedi, that was 30 years ago. You know how long 30 years is?
Yeah, you just imagine what he could have made in compound interest in 30 years.
Yeah, and I'll say this. The biggest bet I have, and I did say to you that the MCU and Star Trek and Police Academy, I know it's like that's a long leap right there, but I'm just, the Alien movies, they all had different directors, or some of different directors, even for most of the MCU aside from Guardians of the Galaxy, even per movie, per sub-series. It doesn't always work though, as what I also said. With these Star Wars movies, here's the thing what it is. I agree with you. They had a grand vision with George Lucas in these first 6 movies. And more than the different visions and the different directors that bugs me about this is the lack of cohesion, the lack of cooperation. Because when you look at things, George Lucas now feels so disappointed at how the Star Wars movies turned out because he didn't have his say, more or less. Kathleen Kennedy is the picture on a dartboard for so many Star Wars fans for how the whole thing ended up. You got J.J. Abrams more or less feeling like he's a cleaner to clean up Rian Johnson's mess, and Rian Johnson himself feeling alienated that, the Star Wars fans treated him like dirt and having his planned sequels may not be happening, and then you got all these other directors and all these other people that were supposed to be part of Star Wars just piecing out, it's just like there was no unified vision with the MCU, and the MCU is a juggernaut at this point, not Kane Marco, just a film juggernaut, you see. They managed to make it work for the most part, and even then, they alienated some people. I can think of, Natalie Portman left the MCU for the longest time up until Endgame, and even then she pretty much got her, Jane came back, got the Reality Stone taken out of her body via syringe, and that was her whole role in the movie. She left prior to that because the future Wonder Woman director, Patty Jenkins, got scooped for Thor 2 Dark World. And, that's seen as one of the weakest MCU movies. Terrence Howard feels like he was being either discriminated against or played for the fact that he didn't get a paycheck. Edgar Wright was the first director on the Ant-Man movie before some pitch hit to clean up because they, in part, allegedly, they added the Falcon scene with Ant-Man. But still, after all that, they've managed to keep it together through cast changes, through deaths, through 10 to 12 years of working on this. Star Wars had 3 movies released in about 5 or 6 years, and they couldn't get it to work when it shouldn't have been that hard. And this also goes with the Spider-Man rights with Sony too. People give Sony their static for their part to play in this, but it's Disney. Disney is, to me, is like WWE in a way that they are so big that they are so strict about everything they do and the way they operate to the point where it alienates who they work with. And again, Marvel's managed to do this without a hitch so far. But people are now afraid of giving Disney a property. I mean, it's just like, what has happened with the Muppets? They've got things that work, but some things that haven't. You know, about 50-50. What about Fox or National Geographic or Hulu? Hulu's already kind of on that way to maybe not doing as well because of Disney Plus. I think that, not that Disney ruined Star Wars, because that is a big thing to say, but I think the movie could have been a lot better. Maybe not just one vision, although that would have helped if George Lucas was running the show, but maybe if everyone understood what needed to be done from the Star Wars movies, and what they needed to really be. And I think that lack of that really hurt it. And ultimately, I am pleased with the movie, but, you know, it's kind of a what if that really didn't need to happen.
So, let's get to the rating. Lou? I'm saving myself for last.
Of course you are. Well, I liked it. I really did, but
And by the way, it's platinum pass, it's okay, mediocre, fail, epic fail.
I'm going with pass because I really liked it. There are some definite changes that I would have made, so that's why it doesn't make a platinum. There were some things that didn't explain away for me, but I did like it. It was entertaining. I enjoyed it. I absolutely got in my seat, and it was lots and lots and lots of good action, you know. So I enjoyed it. But it doesn't get that platinum pass of perfection, because other than those little nitpicky things, you know, it just was a little shy of perfection, but it was good.
Mm-hmm.
Done with that.
One more bad. I feel that.
Oh, there you go. So one more bad.
I forgot about this. You know, they just couldn't go one movie without doing takebacks. It's like, no takebacks. Of course, there's takebacks. You know, it's like the Chewie death swerve. That was something. And then 3PO automatically getting his very back at the end of the movie, which, to be fair, they more or less explained. But, you know, that was pretty quick, you know. But, that all being said, it was a good time out. Good Christmas movie to watch. I'm hoping for the next set of downs for Disney Star Wars to be a little bit better. This is more of us a learning experience. I have no ill will towards the actors or the characters that were made. Not even Holdo. Not even Rose Tico. Nothing like that. I don't even know why people hate Rose Tico. But honestly, that's another video for another day. I feel like, you know, everything that led up to this point, I think it worked well. And they did give me some awesome visuals, I felt some of the fight scenes weren't par excellence, but they were good enough, you know. Good enough action. And I gotta give it a pass too, because to me it was more than okay. It was entertaining.
Yeah.
I'm the type of guy that, you know, it can easily shut his brain off to be entertained, or if you have to make me think about stuff, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. This movie is far from perfect, but I feel like I enjoyed myself, and you know, hopefully when Star Wars comes back, it will do better, because I loved Rogue One. I love Solo. And I think because, you know, the fans felt like they couldn't rely on Star Wars anymore, I think because of the main games, I think that has hurt those movies too. But from my perspective, I liked it. Pass.
Well, as for me,
He's gonna be that guy.
Yeah, I know.
I can't help being
I
that
can
guy.
tell.
I can't
Can't
help.
let the little last Skywalker get it right.
No, too many inconsistencies, too many missteps, and I hate to be that guy. I truly do. But if I don't, who will? I mean, of course, the whole of the internet. But I'm going to go one step beyond. First of all, I have to give it it's okay. I didn't hate it. I couldn't even fail it because, in a sense, J.J. Abrams tried to do his very best to make a spare out of the situation The Last Jedi put him in. I am wholly convinced that The Last Jedi didn't end up in Rian Johnson's hands and it was actually a halfway decent film, then The Rise of Skywalker would not have all these issues. But it didn't. It caused kind of a big of a mess here. So much of a mess, in fact, that, well, like we alluded to before, there's no more Skywalkers left. There's only a Palpatine, and an unpopular Palpatine at that. So, I have to do this. I really have to do this.
So looking out for the franchise. He's only doing it for that.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I have to. So, this is going to be the very first thing that I've ever done in a movie review. In addition to the rating, I'm going to have to cast judgment on this new brand of Star Wars. These sequel trilogies. They have not lived up to the quality of Star Wars. Up to the point where now there is no more Skywalkers. That should not be. There should be still a staple of the Star Wars franchise in there. Or at least a deep relation. Since there's none now, where do we begin with this? I'm sure that Star Wars 4 removing is going to be just fine. This is not something you can stop. You can't kill Star Wars. It's Star Wars. Like Backlash says, this truly is indeed a learning thing that all this happened here, and everything's going to be fine. Heck, if the Disney has already won, they got Mandalorian and people like that to a certain point, and they won't shut up about Baby Yoda. All they need is one hook, that Disney, and they'll just drag your butt and shake you for your money. That's what they do. They're good at it. They'll be around for 100 years, and so is Star Wars. But the fact of the matter is that this is no longer George Lucas's vision. This is now the corporate Star Wars, Disney Star Wars. And thus, I must say this. From this point forward, everything from the sequel trilogy and on, while it's still owned by Disney, will now be considered the sealed Star Wars. Palpatine Star Wars, not true Star Wars. True Star Wars starts from the prequel and the original one. From Phantom Menace to the Return of the Jedi, plus the extended books. Disney said that they don't count the extended /expanded universe in their lore anymore, from the video games to the novels. I say the video games, novel, and the first 6 movies all are just the true canon of Star Wars. They are the legacy, and they shall remain as such. But anything that Disney has their hands in, including the sequel trilogies, Mandalorian, and anything else that comes after that that has Disney's hand on it, shall be forever sealed from the true canon and continuity. Let them go where it may. As far as I'm concerned, this sealed continuity is an elsewhere tale. And until either George Lucas gets the rights back or something like, Disney sells it off for some reason and they create their own universe and bring the true canon back into the fold, then that's all I gotta do.
Like the dead Star Wars scrolls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. The dead Star Wars scrolls, that's it. Having these what if stories. Like, what if Luke Skywalker failed to create the Jedi Academy again and everything goes off the rails? That's the sealed Star Wars. I'm fine with that. How's that sound? You like my decree? Sealing the Disney Star Wars?
I'm actually listening. I can't wait to get all the emails, address them to Boss Bronze.
I think everyone will like that, because the people I hear constant whining, complaining that these new Star Wars are not up to snuff. I'm helping them out. I'm saying, fine, you don't have to pay attention anymore. Just go back and follow the true Star Wars and expanded universe. That's it. The rest of this stuff is just an elsewhere tear. It doesn't mean anything. until Disney sells it off. It's separate. It helps everyone because people like Elseworld Tales, but some people like True Canon too. So there you go. It's sealed. Done. Once, twice.
Done like dinner.
I mean, I think it's a unique take, to be honest, but I'd still see it as canon for right now.
Well, that is just you, Backlash, but that's what I'm calling it as decree. If you like the sealed Star Wars, I ain't gonna stop you. But that's exactly what it is. It is just sealed. Cut from the timeline of the true Star Wars, and it's its own thing. Like...
That's Boss Braun.
But anyway, like I said, even though it's now permanently sealed in its own space-time reality, again, I couldn't hate the movie. They made a lot of mistakes, but that's not JJ's fault. They were just trying to clean up as much mistakes as they can. So it gets an okay. If you don't care about Star Wars or the the lore that all the all the true Star Wars movies gave out, then you'll like this movie. You'll enjoy it. But if you do like the true Star Wars canon, I would not suggest this. Because all it's going to do is just make you mad.
You already know they're going to see it.
I know they will, but I'm just giving them a warning.
You're going to see it.
In fact, they already watched it twice already because we are the last definitive review. See why I made it the last definitive review? So I can have the final word in the matter and just break off Disney Star Wars and seal it off completely.
They are definitely going to see it, and they are going to say the same things we said, because they're going to be so angry that Kylo Ren died.
Well, they're going to be angry for a lot of reasons.
For sure, Kylo Ren died.
But I'm done. I'm getting all dried out and coughing like crazy and all that.
Yeah.
So, if there's nothing left, I'm calling this the last thing we do for 2019. How does that sound? Good?
That sounds good.
Good?
Yeah, I'm with that.
All right. So, this is One Tron, the Gamer Boss Bros.
And the Informational Emperor, True Backlash.
And the first lady of the last review of 2019, Blue,
telling you to stay tuned for the next video game Armada transmission in 2020. Till then, though, take care. Have a Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!